you all so much for tuning into my first ever YouTube video. Having my own YouTube channel has sort of been like a hidden dream for me for a while now, but I'm so excited because I finally put my foot down and decided to make time to committing to creating new content and editing my videos. In this first video, I thought it'd be a really good idea to introduce you all to who I am and the content that you can expect in the next coming videos. I spent the first 23 years of my life in Indiana, and being in a state that is so connected with agriculture really shaped the person I am today. I grew up on a pig, goat, and chicken farm, and I saw firsthand at a really young age how important agriculture was to myself and my community. It wasn't until I was in high school, though, that I realized that not everybody had this same experience that I did. And so not everyone knows how important agriculture is, or not everyone knows where their food comes from. It's my goal to try to educate people on how critical agriculture is, especially now more than ever. I'll never forget when I was in high school, my agriculture teacher told me that by the year 2050, our global population was going to rise to 9.5 billion people. And that means we're going to need to grow a lot more food for all of these people. And as a 10th grader, that really scared me. And it made me realize that I wanted to be a part of the solution of feeding all of these people. And I was going to do that by plant genetics. In 2018, I got a degree in plant genetics from Purdue University. And so I decided that with a degree in plant genetics, I could use the genetics of different crop plants that are important to food production and try to improve them so that farmers can have higher yields and that we can ultimately feed more people on less land. I now go to the University of Georgia here in Athens, Georgia, where I am in my second year of my doctoral degree in plant genetics. Even though I'm 9 hours from home, I'm still around agriculture all of the time. So, all in all, you can kind of get the idea that I love plant genetics enough to study it for 9 years of formal education. That'll be the amount of time I'll have spent at the end of my PhD. Something that I absolutely love about the lab that I work in at the University of Georgia is that we study what is called orphan crops. Orphan crops are staple foods that are extremely important to some of the world's most food insecure areas, but unfortunately, because they don't have the economic importance like, let's say, corn, soybeans, or wheat, whenever we think about the United States, we don't invest the money or time to research them. And so my lab is taking the initiative to explore the genetics of these plants so that ultimately people in areas of sub-Saharan Africa, southern Asian countries, India, Nepal, they be able to provide food for themselves and have higher yields. And I'm so excited to be a part of that inspiring task. Something that I'm also really passionate about as a young female scientist myself is the Women in STEM movement. Every Wednesday, you can expect a video from me where I'll be talking about some of my favorite female scientists, and I'll also be going through different science experiments that you all can do at home or you all can share with your kids to kind of show them how exciting and fun science really is. Coming from an agriculture background, I can't leave out ag in my videos, and so I'm so excited to be going through and dispelling some common myths that people have about agriculture while also showing you how even if you live in a suburban area or a city, you can be involved in agriculture. I'll be teaching you all some cool interactive activities that again you can do with your kids, but also showing you how you can make an impact in the agriculture industry right from your very own homes. So I've talked a little bit about who I am, but you all might be wondering, who the heck is this Millie person? Or should I say thing? I am going to be starting off my YouTube channel by showing you all essentially a glimpse of the daily life that I have as a plant geneticist. As I said earlier, I work in a lab at the University of Georgia that focuses a lot on researching orphan crops. And one orphan crop in particular that's very important to regions of sub-Saharan Africa and India is called pearl millet. And pearl millet is a staple food for over 500 million people, and it's especially important to the regions that rely on it because it's very high in nutrients, it's high in protein, calcium, fiber, and it actually thrives in conditions where other plants normally fail. So, here in a little bit, I am going to show you all my new friend, Millie. Millie is a pearl millet plant, and since a lot of you might have downtime right now, and since it's the lovely spring weather, I thought it'd be an excellent opportunity to show you all what plants need to grow. You can apply a lot of these ideas to growing other plants at home in your garden. So without further ado, I'm going to take you all on outside to my backyard and show you the first starting steps to growing a pearl millet plant.
And thank you so much for joining along in Millie's journey from a little seed to a giant pearl millet plant. And if you don't know what pearl millet is, millets are examples of cereals that have very, very tiny seeds, which you'll see later on in this video when we plant Millie. What's so important about these millets is that they're extremely high in nutrients, calcium, fiber, protein, and they're a staple food. What's also really unique about millets are that they can be grown in some of the most drought-prone conditions of the entire globe where other crops like corn, soybeans, or wheat might fail. They can also be grown in a variety of different soils that might have a lot of acidity, so they're really able to continue to provide people with a sustainable food source in different conditions. So some of the steps that I'm going to talk to you all about today can actually relate to a lot of different plants, but you should keep in mind that each plant species has its own specific requirements for water, soil type, temperature, and light. Pearl millet is typically a short day plant, which means that it needs less than 12 hours of sunlight a day. And if you give it more than 12 hours of sunlight, it won't really make it grow any faster or any taller. It also prefers to be grown in temperatures in the high 70s. So right now, in the month of April in Georgia, is the perfect time to be growing pearl millet. In fact, pearl millet isn't just grown in sub-Saharan Africa and India, but there are a lot of farms here in the southern United States that grow it for forage. And forage basically means that they're growing these pearl millet plants to eventually turn into hay or to let their cattle and other animals graze on and eat. All right, so now that we've gone over some of the requirements for pearl millet, let's get started actually growing it. Here we have an absolute necessity, potting soil. Even though pearl millet can be grown in extremely acidic soils, I'm going to actually use a pretty good soil for plants. We also, of course, need water. All plants need water, and I'll show you in a little bit about how much water you'll actually need. You'll want a pot of your own choice and add any decorations that you want. I'm adding cute little googly eyes to give Millie some life and some personality. And you want to make sure that your pot has some type of drainage system in it. And what that might look like is either having holes in the bottom of the pot itself or placing a smaller plastic container with holes in it. That way your plants aren't getting overwatered. Your plants can have too much water sometimes and unfortunately make them die or make them very ill. And then, of course, the most important thing we need are the actual pearl millet seeds. And if you look close, you'll see that pearl millet seeds really aren't much bigger than 2 or 3 millimeters in size. So now we're going to start off by putting soil in our pot. And I'm again just using a plastic container so that I have a good amount of drainage since my main pot doesn't have holes in them. Something to also note about pearl millet is you can use soil that has fertilizer in it if you want. They actually don't have to have a lot of added nutrients, but adding nutrients by all means won't hurt the plant and it might make it grow just a little bit better. So I've completely, for the most part, filled this plastic container up with soil. A great trick that a lot of people don't know about is that it's actually best to add water to your soil before you put your seed in it. And that's because sometimes if you put your seed in before you pour the water, The pressure of the water being applied to the soil can move the seed around, maybe even deeper into the soil than what you wanted it to, and so it might not grow right. So I'm basically going to make sure this whole soil mixture is moist. And again, some of this water is going to be draining out through my holes in the bottom of this plastic container, and that's all right. That's actually what I want. And whenever I do this, the soil might become a little bit more compact. And so if you want, you can always add a little bit more to the top, which is what I'm going to do. And then I'm simply just going to wet this soil a little bit more to make sure everything is moist. And at this point, you can let that water sit in your soil for about 5 minutes to let it fully get drained. So now that our 5 minutes are up, our soil should be pretty moist, but overall that excess water should be drained out. And you can check that by looking at the bottom of your pot. So I still have a little bit of water, but for the most part it's like seeped all out of my soil. And now we're ready to plant our seeds. What I normally do is I take a sharp utensil, and I'm just going to use a stick I found on the ground, and I puncture small holes into the soil, no more than like 1 centimeter deep. And from here, I'll just add 1 pearl millet seed to each of these holes. My hope at the end is to have 1 single pearl millet plant growing, but because you never know for sure the germination rate of your seeds, it's always good to plant more than what you want to have at the end in case for some reason they don't germinate. Pearl millet, it normally takes about 3 days to see germination if we're keeping it in good light. So like I said earlier, less than 12 hours, no more than that, but still in a well-lit place. And so I overall have really high hopes for this germination. I'm so excited that you all are following Millie and I's journey to see what she looked like today as a seed that's no more than 2 millimeters to what she'll look like at harvest time in a couple months. So tune in every Monday to Mondays with Millie. And
please hit the subscribe button below. You do not want to miss some of the exciting content that I'll be releasing soon.